All right, welcome to the February 7th, 2022 meeting of the Marshfield Planning Board. The time is now 7:01. Let's see, the meeting's being recorded by MCTV, and our meeting is live via Zoom. Tonight, our meeting members are Katie O'Donnell, Fred Monaco, Nick Papastratis, Kevin Cantwell, our new associate member, Scott Castro, and I'm Mike Viviano, the chair. Also here tonight is Greg Guimond, our town planner, and Karen Horn, our assistant town planner. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing and to waive the reading of the notice. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Thank you. Fred? You're on mute, Fred.
You're still on mute, Fred.
Fred Monaco, aye.
Thank you. Nick?
Nick Papastratis, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
Scott?
On mute.
Scott DeCastro, aye.
Thank you. And Mike Viviano, aye. All right, so tonight's meeting is open. Next on the agenda is the scenic road hearing for 703 Ferry Street. So I'm going to make a motion. We open that hearing and waive the reading of the notice. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Nick?
Nick Papastratis, aye.
Kevin?
Cantwell, aye.
Scott?
Scott DeCastro, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Greg, is there someone here for this, or are you doing it?
This is 703 Ferry Street. I do not know if the applicant's here. Is anyone here to speak on 703?
I am. I'm Paul Sheeran.
Okay, Paul,
Hi, Paul.
do you have a plan, or do you want me to put up the plan?
I believe that my son Adam is there. Is there actually a public meeting, or is it all Zoom?
It's all Zoom.
Let me see if I can get a hold of him. I think he thought he was going to be in attendance. If you could hold on for just 1 second.
Okay, while you're doing that, I will share a screen. So 703, is this, see the arrow on the, can people see the screen? Mike, can you see the screen?
We can, yes.
Ferry Street's down here. The property is this lot right here, 703. 707 is to the right. 683 is to the left. And the site plan, hold on 1 second. Can you see the site plan, Mike?
Yes, just came up.
All right. So Ferry Street's at the bottom of the screen. You have the property line. There's an existing stone wall running across the property line. The plan is to take those stones and turn them into the driveway opening, and to use any excess stones to repair the stone wall along the right-of-way to Ferry Street. There are no trees proposed to be removed within the right-of-way section of Ferry Street for this property.
That is the plan. Yes.
All right, sounds good. Any questions from the members of the board? Seeing none, is there?
Sorry, I was just unmuting real quick. So if this is a scenic road, are we going to clarify just the way the plan looks? I know that we've had this before, that we don't do, that it has to be restored kind of to its current state, right? Will this entry kind of match existing stone walls in the area? It looks like it extends out significantly beyond.
Katie, it should match the stone wall in front of the house versus, I think what Katie's bringing up is we had someone recently put concrete instead of just the dry stone, right, Katie?
Yeah, instead of the dry stack, yeah.
Yes, our plan would just be to use existing stones and others to create an entryway.
I think Katie is trying to make sure that it's not going to be a concrete bound wall and it's going to be a loose stack wall the way.
That's correct.
Okay. That's a good point, Katie. I think we have to remember that on the future ones as well.
Yeah.
Greg, can you zoom out for a minute? I just want to read the note here. I was at first glance, I thought the what is actually proposed as crushed stone was an extension of the existing wall, but okay, right. Yeah, 3 foot wide crushed stone drainage swale on either side of the driveway. Okay, yeah, so the existing walls just extends in,
Yep.
Okay, 10 feet. Yep, got it.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions from board members at all? Is there anyone else here from the town? Did I see Barry here for a reason? For this? No?
If
Okay,
you
great.
have your screen on video, if you raise your hand if you have a question, otherwise down at the bottom under reactions, there is a raise hand function. So if you want to speak on any of the matters, if you could use one of those two methods, we can tell if you would like to speak. Sorry,
Yeah,
Mike.
if there's anyone here from the public, this would be the time. Can you just say your name or raise your hand? I'll call on you.
I don't see any hands raised, Mike.
Yep, I don't either on page 1 or 2. Okay, any other concerns, Greg?
Nope.
Okay. Seeing no other concerns, I have no issues. I'll make a motion that we approve the plan as presented tonight. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Good.
Nick Papastratis, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
I'm on Zoom right now, but they're not on ours yet.
Whoever is talking, it says owner on there. You gotta mute.
I think that's Chris McKenna.
Hey, Chris, are you called owner on Zoom?
Hold on, they're talking to me.
Yeah, you need to mute. I can hear you and you're
sorry.
bringing up a vote.
I'm sorry. I don't know how to do this.
Yeah, just
On your bottom left, there should be a microphone, Chris, if you just
there you go. We got him.
got it.
Greg, does Scott vote on something like this?
Nope, special permits.
Okay. And Mike Viviano, aye. So that is 5-0 in favor. That's a public hearing, right?
Yep.
So we got to close it out?
Yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We close the public hearing for 703 Ferry Street. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Nick?
Nick Papastratis, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
Scott?
Scott DeCastro, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. All right, we're going to move on to
Public hearing on the marketplace modification.
this is a new public hearing, right?
No, well, it's a new public hearing, yes, but it's
Yep.
a modification of the original plans.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we open the public hearing for modification of the final building in Proprietors Marketplace, PMUD special permit, and waive the reading of the notice. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Nick?
Nick Papastratis, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
Scott?
Scott DeCastro, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, is someone here to present this one?
I believe Bob Rigo will be the applicant's engineer.
Okay, I see you there, Bob. Take it away.
Okay, for the record, Bob Rigo, I'm with Riverhawk Environmental. We were the original engineers when this project was first developed, the Proprietors Marketplace, when there's 2 buildings that are currently constructed there. When we originally submitted the special permit, there was a proposed 3rd building, which is identified as building number 2. That building was originally set to be an 11,840 square foot medical office building. And we're proposing to modify the use of that building a little bit. We're shrink up the parking lot a little bit and provide, instead of the 11,840 square feet, just 3,600 square feet of office, retail, maybe medical, depending on what end user can be found, and then 5 residential units up above. There's existing 10 units in the 2 residential units, excuse me, in the 2 buildings that are previously constructed, and then there's some medical office space on the bottom floors of both of the 2 existing buildings.
Bob, I made you a co-host so you can put up the site plan if you like.
You know what? I would love to. I apologize. I was just about to go on the meeting and my internet crashed, so I had to grab my iPad and go on a Wi-Fi. So I apologize. I don't have the site plan to present. Okay,
My site plan I do have is the older version, so it doesn't have that patio with the
Modification. Okay.
Can
Yeah.
you see that?
Apologize for that. So what Greg's talking about is in between the proposed building 2 and the existing building 3, where Greg's running the cursor up and down, there's a kind of a common area. We originally had proposed it a little differently, but we made some minor modifications to accommodate some of the existing residents and maybe hopefully get a better layout in that area. But it'll just be in the lower portion closer to the southern part of the site will be a common, exactly right there, will be a common patio area where there might be things such as a barbecue, potentially a fire pit, some just common space for both the residents of building 2 and the existing residents of building 3 and 4. And there'll kind of be some gates too with arbors over them that kind of section that area off from the general public. Yeah, a little lower, Greg, on the second one, but that'll be all landscaped up on the northerly part, and then there'll be a gate kind of right where your cursor is, and then a second gate down by right where you enter off the parking. Exactly.
So Bob, now the site plan's up. What's the actual change? Not to this patio, but the overall, is it the use?
It's size of building and use. Exactly. The new regulations that just came into effect allow for more residential units in the PMUD district. So it's basically to add residential units and reduce the square footage. So it is a use change. Along with that use change, we were able to pick up a bunch of parking spaces too, which
I'll go back to that. Give me 1 second.
yeah, that's okay. I can probably gather that from my notes, but
You have 7 on the bottom in the service driveway area.
Yep.
South, west, and you have 14 in front where the bigger building used to be.
correct. Okay, thank you. So 21 additional parking spaces. Kind of the existing use, it is shared parking with the northerly abutter. That's the Miragaza restaurant and a couple other uses. And parking is kind of at a premium, especially during the busy time of the restaurant. So we were able to add some additional unit parking kind of in a key area for that shared use.
Okay. Greg, is Pat on for this, or is he for something
Pat
else?
is here. He needs to. He did.
Is he particularly here to speak on anything about this?
He's here for all our, if needed.
Okay, well, I'll let you go then, Greg.
So on our side, Chris McKenna had come in this afternoon, and he said that he was going to add a sidewalk connection from the back of his building here, where it says concrete sidewalk ends, and curve it up into the existing walkway on the green. He did have elevation plans. So the elevation, this is the east side elevation, west side elevation, the rear elevation. And the front elevation, unfortunately, is turned sideways. So the second and third floor are the 4 smaller units, and then there is a 5th larger unit on the top floor. So you can see that top floor runs, actually, sorry. Second floor is 4 units, and then the third floor is all one big unit. Chris, is there anything you want to add on your proposal?
No, other than we do have 5 parking spaces underneath the building as well. So instead of 21, there's 26 new parking spaces.
Yeah. Those would be garage spaces. Yep.
Correct. Yeah.
Pat, is there anything you want to add?
Pat Brown with Amory Engineers. I did submit a letter to the board last week. 6 quick comments. I'll just run them through them fairly quickly. They are proposing a catch basin in that 14 space parking lot between the proposed building 2 and the existing restaurant. And they show that tying into the existing drainage system. The existing drainage system has the capacity. It's just where they're tying it in. I'm not sure if there's going to be enough room in that manhole to tie it in at the elevation they're looking to tie it in for, because there's two other pipes coming in at that same elevation. So they just have to look at that a little bit closer, but it's something that they can work out, I'm sure. I just said that a guardrail should be considered along the southerly property line. You see where down the bottom of the plan there, along there's 10 parallel parking spaces along there, and there's a drainage basin on the adjacent lot to the south. So I'm just, guardrail should be considered there just so the cars don't go into that drainage basin. They show 2 septic leaching systems. One is existing, serving buildings 3 and 4. The other one appears to be proposed for building number 2. They just don't show any tanks or anything for that one yet. So we're just asking for them to look at. In the 2017 plans, they had some plantings proposed in the islands off the east side of building number 4, which is the right side of that plan that you're looking at there. They're just not shown in this set of plans. And I noted that they haven't physically been placed there. So I think there's some additional landscaping that needs to be done there. There's existing dumpsters out there for buildings 3 and 4, which are right where Greg's cursor is there. In the 2017 plans, those were shown to be on concrete pads in an enclosure, and they're not. They're just on asphalt with no enclosure. And then it's really not their issue, but it's not clear where the dumpster for the existing restaurant building is going. Currently, they have 2 or 3 dumpsters sitting in that gravel parking area where this proposed building is going to go, or the parking for it will go. I believe this was an issue in 2018 when they came in to revise, and I believe it's supposed to be moved to the north side of the restaurant building. But I just wanted to identify that as well. And those were really the only comments. I think they can all be worked out pretty easily, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Pat.
Mike?
Yeah.
A letter had gone to the property owners about the enclosed dumpsters and stuff. It had been noted in the building department, and the DPW had been working on that. And that they'll need an enclosed dumpster over on to the left where the cursor is now, that would need to be enclosed with concrete pad as well. And
Okay.
It was also my understanding that the restaurant dumpsters were all moving to the Roach Brothers side of the building, or the north side of the building.
Okay, sounds good. So it looks like we need the updated plan that we can't get tonight, so we'll get that in the next meeting. We can add that guardrail in. That's a good note from Pat. It show those plantings that Pat noted are missing on the plan. And then Greg already spoke about the pads and the enclosure. Anything else from any of the board members?
At this time.
Okay. Anyone here from the public for this at all?
Hi, my name is Deborah Woods, and I live at the Highland Green Condominium Association. And I'm not really clear why I got a letter from a lawyer to listen to this Zoom meeting.
So you are considered one of the abutters to the project, and being a resident
Okay.
there, you're in a certain zone,
Is
you know, owning property, so you have to be
Okay,
notified.
within so many feet or something, or
300
something like
That's
feet.
right.
Yep, 300 feet of butters to a butters are notified.
Okay, okay, all right,
Yep.
I'm unclear, because I'm not really familiar with the project, and it kind of doesn't make sense to me, because if there's still the same amount of tenants as in the other buildings, right?
They didn't have tenants proposed. Now they do have tenants proposed, and it's basically going to be just like those other two buildings that are there now.
Okay, all right, okay,
Yep.
all right. Well, I guess that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks for stopping by.
All right, bye.
Anyone else from the public? I know there's a lot of neighbors over there.
I see a hand on for Walter.
Yeah. Hey guys, how are you doing? So I'm actually the immediate abutter of Unit 20 in building, what's that, 3?
Three.
Okay. Hi, Walter. Can
Yeah.
you just get your name and address?
Walter Graney, 3 Proprietors Drive, Unit 20.
Thank you.
Yep. How y'all doing? So the immediate concerns that we have are the few of the residents here have purchased units under the assumption of the original plan, and especially being the end unit here, there's a potential adverse effect of loss of value of no longer being an end unit at the time of resale. That's MLS data. You can look that up left, right, and center. And the second issue is on the balcony on the second floor and where the proposed bedrooms were of the interior of the residential units. Those are actually coming back and looking into the master bedroom of the existing structure. So there's privacy concerns as well.
Walter, was there not always a third building proposed there? Even if
there was, but it was a 1-story building. We're on the second and third with an end unit with windows on that side, looking out over the green and beyond that.
Okay, I understand that.
Yep. And by the way, Chris has been super transparent and everything, so this is just a formal place to bring it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yep.
So, Greg, do we have what was proposed before so we can almost visualize what he's mentioning?
Don't know if I have the original one. Hold on one second.
Or Greg, do you know off the top of your head? I don't remember how tall the proposed building was. I'm sure
It was originally a 1-story, much larger building that, let me pull up that screen. It was a much larger building that included that parking lot area.
Okay.
Then it was modified to become a hardware store, and they were going to have a second floor of offices. And now with the zoning change, they've come in to have the 5 units instead.
Which makes the building a lot taller, and that's
The building
Walter's
is
issue.
taller, but a lot shorter.
Yeah, it's not as long.
Yep.
Could this building possibly be repositioned so it's not blocking the tenant's views or the owner's views of the green? Is that a possibility, Walter? Because I think your issue is if this actually went closer toward Mamma Mia's, you wouldn't be blocked. Would that be correct?
I'm not an engineer, it's not my forte. I would have to assume there would be some cause and effect to the degree that you're talking about there, Mike.
I'm only asking about your view from building 3 you're in, right?
Yep, I'm on the end of 3.
So if there wasn't a building between you and the green, you wouldn't lose your view.
No, correct.
So if that building I don't know about the engineering either. I'm just asking, would that solve your issue?
If I'm understanding you correctly, I believe so.
Okay.
So Mike, you're talking about sliding the building up into the parking area, or?
I'm just throwing it out there just to understand his issue. And
Well, so Walter, I don't think you have a window on the side of your unit, do you?
Yes, I have a total
side?
of 1, 2, 3, 4,
Okay.
5 windows on the second floor.
Okay.
plus, would you also have common space that he's referring to right below your windows?
Yes, that was going to be the third point, bringing it up with a fire pit right there.
Yeah, that would be concerning for me. Do you really like fire pits, Walter?
I mean, I like them personally on my own time.
Okay.
Mike, one problem with sliding that building up is then the garage units are going to be right next to his windows.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not asking them to slide the building up, Greg. I'm just trying to see it. I was just wanted to completely understand Walter's concerns. That's all.
Okay.
And you know, I'm not the engineer or the one proposing the project, so I just wanted to know, you know, just know all the info. Okay. Did you have anything else to add, Walter?
No, this has been awesome. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else here from the public?
Don't see any other hands, Mike. I do have 4 letters that were dropped off by Chris McKenna today from the 2 dentist offices, from Mia Regatta, and one of the residents in the buildings that all support the proposed new building.
So Mia Regatta, 2 of the owners.
The 2 dentist office on the first floor of buildings 3 and 4, and
Okay.
one of the residents within the 3 and 4 units.
Okay, that's fine. Any board members need any questions or have to add anything else at this time?
No, I think it would be great if the applicant could work with the abutters and see if there's any way to minimize the effects here. I think that your questions were good and try to be creative.
Yeah, Bob, I think my biggest holdup right now is not adversely affecting, you know, what Walter brought up. That's pretty big, blocking his view where that's not what he bought into what was proposed, and also having a proposed fire pit hangout area right below his windows. That seems pretty different than what was supposed to be there. So maybe you can work with him for the next hearing, and you know, maybe Walter won't have the same concerns after you speak with him, or change something around a little bit.
Yeah, by all means. Bob, Chris has my number. Feel free to
Okay, absolutely.
Greg, what's the next meeting date for this? We can continue.
February 28th.
Or anything else from the board members, or I'll continue?
Nope, thanks.
Okay, great. I'll make a motion. We continue the public hearing until February 28th, 22 at 7:05 PM. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Fred?
Monaco, I.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
Scott?
Scott DeCastro, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. All right, we'll see you back on the 28th.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, guys. All right, moving on to a release for lot on Adelaide, lot number 10.
Now, we have a continued public hearing for Red Gold Farm first.
Oh, I skipped that, huh? Oh, I skipped. Oh, geez. Yeah, we'll just skip that all together. Why not? We'll go to bed early. All right, I'm sorry. We're moving on to the continued WRPD special permit and definitive subdivision plan for Red Gold Farm. Who is presenting for that?
Hi, Rick Grady from Grady Consulting.
Hi, Rick. It's all yours if you want to share the
Rick,
screen.
I got to find you so I can add you as the co-host. Hold on.
So the one that says Rick Grady-PC will be the one I'd like to share my screen from.
Yep.
And while you're looking for that, Gabe Padilla from my office is also with me, and Kevin Sealand is on here as well.
Sharing. All right, so you should be co-host now.
Okay.
Okay.
Just double checking. We don't have to vote to reopen, right? Or not reopen.
Greg, I don't think we do, but do we?
Probably safer if you did.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Fred?
Fred Monaco, I.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
Scott,
Scott DeCastro, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Thanks, Katie. Better safe than sorry.
Sorry, I should also just clarify. I second everything, but it makes it so much easier for whoever is taking minutes. So,
Well, it's not only that, but just on Zoom, it makes it so much easier to get through it. So you don't have to second anything you don't want.
oh, I know. Don't worry.
Yeah. I make motions for things I vote against, so it's fine. It's just the way business is done. So, okay. I forget who was presenting. So.
Rick Brady.
Okay, hey, go ahead, Rich.
I feel like I'm at home now. They usually forget me at home.
Yeah, I can't see you. I can only see 3 people at a time. So.
Okay. So this is a continued hearing for the Red Gold Farm definitive subdivision, as you'd mentioned. I'm sharing sheet 1 of my screen right here, and I don't want to run through every comment, but I will run through kind of the big picture items here. We've been working closely with Greg. We've been also working with Pat Brennan to address his comments. Conservation Commission, Bill Grafton, and also Ed Eichner on the nitrogen loading analysis for the project. Some of the big picture items is there was an additional lot on the initial submittal that we've eliminated. That brought into question whether or not we could access over another lot. That has been eliminated. That issue has been eliminated with this new configuration. So we have these 3 lots here prior to the 66.9 acres of open space lot that's proposed. And we've eliminated one that previously had frontage through the drainage basin. I'd like to switch to sheet 13 here now. It'll just take me a moment to get there.
Did lot 25 go away as well, Rick?
No.
Okay. I just didn't see on that plan. I'll let you keep going.
Okay, it is still there. That would be the existing house out in the middle of the cranberry bogs that has access off of Webster Street. We do propose to retain that house lot there as well. Although we are providing frontage for it on Moraine Street, we're not proposing to change their access, which currently exists off of an easement through Webster Street.
Okay.
So some of the big picture items that we had going on here, Conservation Commission identified an area which they considered to be a potential vernal pool within the wetland regulations for the town of Marshfield. They have a 100-foot no-touch area for a vernal pool. So we are not going to contest that potential vernal pool. We're going to assume that it is a vernal pool. We revised the constructed stormwater wetland to provide 100 feet no-touch area around that vernal pool area. So it resulted in a slight reconfiguration of this constructed stormwater wetland. We're also able to shrink up the stormwater wetland a little bit on this side of the street here. And what we would like to do is relocate the cranberry sorting machine historic barn. Kevin's been working with Historic Commission on that. And it seems something that is desirable to the Historic Commission. So we've laid that out in a manner that we can do a little bit of gravel parking off the subdivision roadway. We can maintain a walkout basement, which is how this is currently configured. The current walkout actually faces Moraine Street, but the grading itself is set up to mimic what's going on with the existing location there. So that would be on the open space lot in this area here with a little bit of gravel parking out in front of it. The grading actually works out really well. We think it's a good placement to be over there on the open space. We had proposed subsurface infiltration with a galley system in the cul-de-sac. We understand that would have required a waiver from the planning board regulations. We've been working with Pat. One interesting caveat with the constructed stormwater wetlands is that it doesn't provide for recharge. So it's a great system for what we want to do for the drainage here, but we needed to find a way to get some recharge on site through the stormwater system. We were working with Pat Brennan on this, and we decided that the best approach on that would be to eliminate the galley system below the cul-de-sac that was previously proposed and construct a rain garden in the center of the cul-de-sac. So the pavement for that cul-de-sac is now super elevated. So it all slopes back towards the center of the cul-de-sac. And with that, the rain garden provides the required recharge volume that the stormwater manual dictates for us. So we saw that as kind of a big change here as well. We would also like to relocate the existing metal building that's at the approach off of Moraine Street to be utilized for the cranberry operations. And we identified a spot on the plan here. I can get my hand back here. There it is. There is an area adjacent to the bogs to the rear of lot 3 on the open space where that could be still utilized for the cranberry bog operations. It'd be outside of the Conservation Commission's 75-foot structure setback. So this actually works out as an okay location for us back in this area here. We were working on nitrogen loading calculations up until this afternoon with Ed Eichner. I believe we're in a place where Ed is satisfied that we are able to meet the 5 parts per million on the calculations, but I won't speak for him. We'll give him a chance to comment back to the board. This has been an interesting project as far as all the discussion with the open space, walking trails. I believe at this point here, Kevin Sealand has been speaking with Greg quite a bit. I believe there's at least some preliminary commitments to construct the boardwalk on the existing railroad bed and to construct a section of walkway to Parsonage Street over a combination of existing railroad bed and maybe a little bit on Webster Street. We don't have anything firm to share with the board on that tonight. Those are both kind of preliminary items. One thing that we are asking for is that construction, especially on Webster Street, is fairly expensive to construct any sort of sidewalk on an existing way. We do think it's a valuable piece for the town to connect in all this open space, but we would like to ask the board to waive the construction of the sidewalks within the subdivision and also to waive the granite curb to help offset the costs that are going to be associated with that extension all the way over to Webster Street and Parsonage Street of the open space walking trails. I do have,
Rick,
yes.
the granite curbing is for the inlets, right? On the catch basins, you're not required to have granite curbing on the whole length of roadway.
Correct. Yeah, it would be at the catch basin inlets. Thank you for that clarification. And also at the cul-de-sac. We would still like to have granite curbing at the entrance coming off of Moraine Street. I think Mass Highway will likely require it. And it is a nice way to have the roundings at the entrance to clearly define the entrance. And I believe those are really the highlights for you. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have. We are meeting again with Conservation next week. And we're making good progress with them as well.
Greg, you want to go to Pat?
Yes, please.
Okay. Pat, want to go over your comments?
Rick,
Yeah, thanks,
stop
Mike.
sharing the screen?
Yes, I will do that right now.
I had briefly gone over some of my comments at the last public hearing. I've gone through the revised plans that Rick has sent over. They've addressed a good number of my original comments. The only thing that we haven't received yet is a revised stormwater report, so I'm waiting on that before I actually put anything in writing back to the board. So at this point, I think I'll just hold off on any additional comments until I get that stormwater report and check the drainage calculations with these modifications that they've made to the plans.
Quick, what's the result of them not putting concrete at their, on the street there? I know they don't need it all the way down the street, but just at the basins.
So the granite curb openings for the catch basins, what it does is it provides additional capacity for the catch basins to pass any water. when we get the revised stormwater report, I will check those grade capacities. I did talk with Kevin Seeland about that today. I don't think that the flow that they have to the catch basins on the site require a curb throat stone. And, you know, Kevin suggested that if in some of the sag areas, if there's a concern, they can put double catch basin grates in there instead of the granite throat stones.
Will the granite give it longevity? Because this is going to be a private road.
This is just for at the catch basin. Well, it's at the catch basins and it's the outside of the turnaround, the cul-de-sac turnaround. Because as Rick mentioned, there's no granite curb proposed on the inside of the turnaround because all of the stormwater sheet flows into that rain garden.
Yep.
So it's really just at the catch basins. And in all honesty, if you drive into a lot of these subdivisions, Chestnut Hill, for example, they've been working on that for the last number of months. Almost every single one of those granite throat stones was broken in there. So it can sometimes, they're nice when you need that additional capacity, but I don't think you need that additional capacity in this instance.
Okay, so we'll just wait to hear back from you on that.
Sure.
Great, thank you. Anyone from the board have any questions at this time?
Yeah, I had a question on the equipment, the farm equipment building that's to be relocated. Is that within the property of the cranberry bogs itself? I guess I'm trying to understand who would ultimately own that. Was that part of the HOA or something, or what's the plan for that?
The plan for that would be that it would be leased to a cranberry grower. More than likely, the bogs will end up in a lease agreement with the cranberry grower. So part of that lease would be that they would be leasing the barn as well.
Along those lines, I was wondering if we could go back to the plan. I was just wondering how the access was for that building.
Sure.
You're still co-host, so you should be able to share.
Okay. So part of both access and open space here is the cranberry bogs are surrounded by sand or dirt paths around all of the bogs. Having trouble sliding my screen. There we go. There is an existing bog road right along the edge here. So they would continue to use that bog road to access the area where that barn would be proposed. And we're also proposing an easement over that same bog road for access to the open space, as we're considering all of this 66.9 acres of this open space lot to be connected to the open space rail trails. So as we zoom out just a little bit here, really all of the roads around the bogs would be part of that network.
Okay, so the access would be in.
It would be, let me see if I can pull up a line.
Have its own.
for you.
I guess I was wondering, like, does it have its own frontage, or is it accessing across another lot?
Like it's access over lot 3. Rick, I think that's what you're using that driveway, right?
So right now, what'll happen is, yes, it would be over a port. There would be an easement over lot 3, and basically that existing bog road is right along here. And it would access something along these lines where that magenta line is located.
Okay. So I do appreciate, because I know that was one of my concerns at our last meeting, that I wanted to see the access over each lot's frontage. And so I appreciate that change. I think I'll just have to think about that one, just because I don't want to hear from, owners in the future coming in saying that they don't want trucks accessing over their property or something like that. I would just want to know a little bit more about how that worked.
And they do have alternative access as well over Webster Street too, that the bogs also connect through easements to Webster Street for the bog operations.
Okay. Okay, that's helpful.
Yep.
Yeah, Katie, that's a good point on access, because obviously construction vehicles, although this wouldn't necessarily be construction vehicles, but we obviously have been dealing with that on another project.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to think about these so that they won't be at our hearings for years and years to come. So, let's see here. And then you were talking about leasing the bogs back, that the bogs would be leased by a farmer. And who would they be owned by? And would they consider, this could be outside, but would they consider putting it into Chapter 61 agricultural status? Because I don't believe they are now.
I don't actually know the answer to that question. Kevin and I have had a number of conversations on the disposition of the bogs. Thinking out loud, and it could be with a homeowners association, or it could be owned by the cranberry farmer with easements to the town for access for the open space, or I don't know if conveyance to the town with easements to the cranberry operator are another option. Those are the things we've talked about. I don't have a solid proposal for you right this moment.
Okay. Thank you.
So Rick, this is proposed as a private road, right?
I believe we would like to get it accepted at some point. I believe that's the hope.
Yeah, that's every private road owner's hope.
Yep.
But I think Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have to go on the assumption it's going to stay as a private association road, correct, for now?
It's safer to have it set up as the association.
Okay.
But the DPW has talked about accepting roads again.
So we're also going to need association documents with this. So each owner is aware, and there's an association set up to maintain and take care of this roadway and structures on this roadway moving forward. So people aren't surprised by that, and that it's not, marketed to them as a public roadway.
Okay, we can provide that.
So, yeah, if we could see those. And then also, if you could let us know at the next meeting with the cranberry bogs, that's all part of this project. Is that part of the association? Is it not part of the association? I don't know how that works if it is part of the association. So that'd be interesting to see how that works out. So that's my 2 cents for right now.
Yes, and my personal experience with I would just say I think it's very hard to farm by committee, has been my observation, but I'll just throw it out there.
Yeah, so all the roads around is part of open space, but the bogs themselves, you're going to try to convey back to the town as open space?
I was just really kind of throwing out the possibilities there. I don't know. Kevin and I are going to have to see if we can figure out a solid answer to this, because we've kind of gone around on it, but we haven't really come up with a solid proposal just yet.
So are all the bogs themselves one completely separate lot, lot 26, call it?
There are some portions of the bogs that do extend slightly onto some of the lots. So there are easements proposed on, let me see if I can stop drawing this line. So there are, PDF here is very slow at the moment. There we go, I think. There we go. So on the back sections of some of these lots, there's stretches of about 20 feet that there would have to be easements on the back of the lots.
Because they go into the bogs?
Correct. Yep. So zoning requires that 80% of the required area be uplands. So that does allow for up to 20% of the lot area to be wetland, which in this case is the cranberry bogs. So there would be easements along the backs of those lots onto the cranberry bogs.
That's not going to be confusing at all.
As somebody who skates on the bogs in the wintertime, I would really like it, but I realize it's not for everybody either.
Okay, well, plenty of things to work through there.
Yep.
Mike?
Yep, Greg, go ahead.
So one of the things that when Kevin and I have been talking, Kevin was hoping to get a sense tonight, not a vote, but a sense, was the board members okay with the right-of-way reduction from 46 feet to 40 and waiving both sidewalks based on public benefits? And the public benefits that we've talked about so far is relocation and saving of the wooden barn and the cranberry sorter, elevated walkways on the south side along the Eversource former railroad right-of-way. That's roughly 360 to 400 feet. Easements throughout the property for the walking trail, sidewalk and trail improvements on the north side of the property and Eversource land going out to sidewalk improvements on Webster Street. And this may include a pedestrian bridge over the Green Harbor River on the old railroad tracks on the Eversource property. And one thing that Kevin and I have talked about but hadn't been thoroughly discussed was the possibility of a conservation restriction on the cranberry bogs, the pond, and the wetlands, the large wetland area, in order to get flood insurance credits, because that section of land is in the floodplain. Rick, can you end? And I'm going to just share a color and screen version so I can quickly run over things on that.
Greg,
Should be all
while
set.
you're doing that, so I can think about it. Is the road short enough and windy enough to not need a sidewalk so cars can't do 50 miles an hour down it?
It is a longer road, but it is not a straight road. And if we have it, and it's proposed at 20 feet wide, so it's not a very wide road. It's not like a 36 foot or even a 24 or 26 foot wide road. I'm putting it out there because I see the benefit to the overall, on the public side, of having a connection to the downtown for both this subdivision, potentially King Philip's Path, and potentially the Black Mount area, as well as tying into the Old Pilgrim Trail and going all the way down to Caswell Street, Route 139 on the former railroad right-of-way. So it really brings the whole southern part of the town into the downtown and then onto the bridle path that takes you up to the north to all the conservation lands up there. And that's kind of, here's Steamboat Drive up here. And that's the section right here where they'd have to put the elevated walkway. Then you come over their causeway, and that's where the trail splits. What I'm calling is the blue trail is the connector that would run down here and bring you over to where the wooden barn and the cranberry sorter is and allow access to the residents here, plus four car parking space in this area. Going back up to where the trail splits, the main trail would continue down along the wetlands in that big bog around this pond, up through this area where that lot 23 house is, and then take us out down either onto Webster Street at that curve, or continue down the former railroad right-of-way over the Green Harbor River for another about 500 feet, and then pop onto Webster Street. And then there would be sidewalk improvements from wherever we come out onto Webster Street up to Parsonage Street. And that gives us our through connection to the downtown, to the CVS, and then over to the rail trail. Granted, some of it is on Webster Street on a sidewalk, but the majority of this would be off trail or off road trails. It gives the added advantage of there's a huge section on the railroad right-of-way in this area where I'm running the cursor that has also got a wetland issue that would have needed walkway as well. And that's in the order of about 600 to 800 feet long, which would be an expensive walkway system for the Trails Committee if they were ever to take it over. I also, I believe the resident, just one other thing that we want to talk about is, the granite curbing things. If you go up to Spyglass off of Grove Street, you can see a number of them have been broken by the snowplows because they stick up and the snowplows hit them. If you go to Ice House Lane down in Green Harbor, which is a 25-year-old road that Kevin Seelan built many years ago, there are just Cape Cod berms with the grates, and there's no problem there, and none of those have been damaged with snowplows. I know DPW likes them because of the added capacity. Again, unless there is some steep grades on the road, I don't think that should be an issue. And then one final thing, we have the resident, I believe he's still here, that where they wanted to relocate the metal barn, it's directly in front of his house, and you can see the arrow. So the metal barn's here, and they were going to put it directly behind his property, and I know he was upset and will probably like to speak about that. The other arrow shows where the wooden barn goes. So that's kind of the highlights, and if you guys could give him a sense, that would allow Grady to finish the plans by reducing the right-of-way width and removing the sidewalks, and would also help, I think, wrap up the drainage calculations.
So Greg, they're looking for us to waive the sidewalk requirements so they can do all these other improvements, and that's the public benefit.
Off-site, yeah, pedestrian improvements, et cetera.
Okay. All right. Thoughts from
And
the board
it's not,
members?
you don't need to take an official vote. It's just a sense of the board. They want to make sure there's nobody that's strongly against it that could not, have them spend a lot of money on plans and then have to change them back.
Okay. Is there anybody on the board strongly against what they're proposing?
No, I think that I don't have any strong opposition to those roadway and sidewalk proposals. And I think for me, it's more just firming up what the public benefits are. I feel like a lot of different options are being discussed right now. And so I just need to see them enumerated of what, what is being proposed and how well that balances with the additional lots being granted through these waivers. But I think we're on the right path here.
I don't think it's necessarily granting additional lots as it is they're wondering about just getting rid of the sidewalks at this point.
No, and that's why I'm saying I don't mind the roadway, but normally on a cul-de-sac, we would only permit 8 lots, correct?
Without
the waiver. So that's what I'm thinking of, all of the other additional waivers as well. Okay. But those two, the roadway and the sidewalks, I don't have a strong opposition to.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, for me, I mean, obviously the proposed, trail ideas, that's a significant, public benefit in my opinion. But I think the sidewalk and the road is just something I need to just think a little more about. Obviously I understand from the cost side, they're trying to offset costs, which I can absolutely appreciate given the, what's being offered. Again, just need to think about it a little bit more. Okay.
And there could possibly, Greg, be a compromise if we think there needs to be a sidewalk going up even if it's not a concrete sidewalk and a paved sidewalk, just if we think the road is going to be a little fast, it wouldn't be nearly as expensive. But
you guys could waive both. You could waive one. It's up to the board. So
yeah. All right. Well, I'm for what I think it greatly outweighs. If we decide to get rid of the sidewalk, or if we let them do a paved sidewalk, if we decide the road, it is pretty long, and I think a car could get going pretty good because it's pretty flat. So, but I think what we're getting is pretty good. But safety is important on that street too, for everyone going down to the bus stop and whatnot. So, anyone else on the board? Okay. All right, nothing for anyone else, so that's fine. I hope it gives you some direction. There's 3 of us that are definitely in favor, with a little more thinking to do, but I think you can move ahead pretty safely with those plans for possibly no sidewalk there. Where were we? We're going to the public, Greg? Is that where we're at?
Yep, public comment or questions?
So if you're here from the public, just raise your hand. I'll call on you and I need your name and address. And if I can see you, that makes it a lot easier. Looks like Rick Sullivan might have his hand up, but he's muted.
Sorry, I'm not particularly proficient with anything technological in nature.
Okay.
I'm Rick Sullivan. I'm at 246 Moraine Street. 236. I'm sorry. 246 is my neighbor who helped me set up the Zoom. In any event, I had a few questions with respect to the metal building that is proposed directly behind my house, if you will. And first of all, just by ways, I can direct this to the board or to the engineer or to whoever is appropriate. Just the dimensions of that building, if we could get that first.
Sure, Rick, do you have the dimensions of that building?
That'll take me a minute to get. I'll see if I can dig into the CAD file here and grab that for you.
Okay. Rick, do you need that to move on or?
Oh, no, I can continue. Just with respect to the barn itself, in his earlier testimony, Rick described the metal building as for cranberry operations. And if you could define what that means.
I'm sorry, the question as far as the cranberry operation?
Yeah, what exactly will the building be used for?
Pretty much what they use it for today, just to store whatever equipment they may use on the bog, just to keep it out of the weather and keep it from being vandalized or anything along that lines.
Okay, so then they'll also be leasing equipment to the cranberry bog operator?
I think the assumption would be that the cranberry bog operator would provide his own equipment. It would give him a safe storage place to store that equipment.
Rick, hold on one second. It
Sure.
looks like it's a 55 by 90 foot metal barn.
Thank you.
And
Gabe was actually checking it for me on the CAD.
And just with respect to the height, how high is it, please?
Just the existing height, I believe it's approximately 20 feet high.
20? Okay.
Approximately, yes. It is the existing building.
Okay. Just with respect to the building itself, I mean, it's an enormous building. It's the size of an aircraft carrier, and I think pretty much at least twice the size of any of the houses that are proposed to be built. But be that as it may, with respect to the barn itself, is it considered essential and or critical to the operation of the bog?
We haven't reached that point of making that determination, so that still remains to be seen.
Okay. And along that same line, with respect to that, did you consider alternative locations for that building?
We have not yet, but that's something that we can take a look at. We do have to comply with some conservation requirements for 75-foot setbacks to a structure. But we can look into that.
Okay, thank you. That's a good start. Any place other than where it is now? With respect to the, I'm sorry?
It's a large building.
That's an understatement. With respect to, locations just along that line, and I certainly, other than the help with from Greg, I am having a heck of a hard time reading these maps. Just in my own mind, I was thinking that building possibly down, if there was space down by where the power lines are, I don't think it would interfere with anybody's view. And I understand view is not necessarily a concern of the planning board, but also seems to have good access, et cetera, because when one of the board members brought up the issue of access, as you were outlining it, and I'm looking at page 15 of 23 on the plan that was recently presented, the access that you propose in that building, I think of the tire tracks that currently exist, the dirt path to the building. And I'm assuming that access is also, if you will, reflects what where a walking path was as well. And I don't know if that's still there, but I'm assuming that with this development, granted, facts not necessarily an evidence, but there are going to be children involved. And there are some who would consider a large metal barn an attractive nuisance. Not me necessarily. I just think it's a nuisance. But in that particular case, just from the purpose of safety, if there's an accident at that barn, somebody breaks a leg, a backhoe falls on them, they fall off a roof. How are you going to get an ambulance and 2 fire trucks there? It just kind of boggles my mind that would provide any means of reasonable access. And I don't know if that's considered or not.
So I believe Rick said he's going to look for alternate locations, and we'll try to look at that for the next meeting,
That's great.
and we'll see what he has.
And just with respect to that, then I guess I only had a couple of other questions if we want to get off my tirade about the barn. And if we're going to be considering alternative locations, then we'll be coming back on that particular issue. Can I assume that that's fair?
That is, yes.
Okay. Then just with respect to the bog itself, I'm just curious, only if you know, sir, is there any covenant in the transaction that says that it will remain an ongoing operation, an ongoing or working cranberry bog in perpetuity, or for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? Or is that something still being worked on?
The answer, I'm sorry, it is still being worked out. Right now, I believe it is the intent of this current proposal that it will remain as an operational cranberry bog.
Okay. So it's still ongoing. It's still in negotiations. Fair statement?
Yes.
I don't know if he can answer about negotiations. I
Right.
don't think it's a negotiation. It's their choice. It's their land.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Okay. Thank you, Rick. Anyone else here from the public? Okay. Seeing none.
Hey there. Sorry about that. I was trying to raise my hand. This is Lee Frixell from 246 Maureen Street.
Okay, go ahead, Lee. Thank you.
So I am next door to Mr. Sullivan there, and just would like to chime in that I also have my concerns with this project. At this point, I don't know that I have anything to add to this. So just kind of listening in to learn where we stand.
Okay, are your concerns more with the big metal building or the whole project overall?
Project overall and the big metal building, I would say, yeah. Conservation is also a huge portion of my concern.
Okay, yep. So feel free to tune in or attend their meetings as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public?
John, go ahead.
Ned Banks.
Yep. So Michael Shanley, 64 Meeting House Lane.
Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Good. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
I was wondering about the access of the walking trail that I believe I heard alluded to a couple of times from Webster Street. Is they're planning parking there at Webster Street? Because there's a big like bear patch between Webster Street itself and the trail as it exists now. So is there going to be parking there for these enhanced trails that you've been talking about, or what are the plans where that's concerned?
Rick, I'll let you point out the proposed parking areas.
So on the curve on Webster Street where those tree trucks have been parking for most of the winter, that is town-owned land. And there is the possibility of putting 4-6 car parking space area there. That would be worked out by the Trails Committee. The other location is down by the barn, the wooden cranberry sorting barn, where they were going to put in about 4 spaces on gravel parking that's connected to the trail network. You also have pedestrian connections through on Steamboat Stagecoach Drive area. And then when you get down on Pilgrim Trail, you have connections in from other locations, properties. You also have a connection to Hoyt Hall Trail Network. And then you come down onto Caswell Street on 139. There would not be any parking there.
So you're saying there's a maximum 4 to 6 parking spaces there contemplated, or is that not firm?
That's what's contemplated at the moment, but it would be up to the Trails Committee to figure that out.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public here for this?
I think Ned Banks had his hand up.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see that. Ned, are you there?
You got-
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
there you go. You're way up in the corner. Sorry, I didn't look up there. Go ahead,
That's all right.
Ned.
Good, thanks.
Yep.
Ned Banks, Woodland Circle, Vice Chair of the Recreation Trails Committee, and we just wanted to state that the RTC supports the trails and for contemplated there for several reasons. As Greg mentioned, the trail would be part of a large improvement and adds to the spine of the trails from CVS to Station Street, and it would work towards our goal of having trails from the border of Situate to the border of Duxbury for safe passage, and it would open up trails to the downtown for the new subdivision as well as Black Mount, and of course walking through the bogs would be a great positive experience on trails. So we're supportive of the plans for the trails at this time at that location.
Great, thank you. Could be a great project when it all goes through. All right, anyone else from the public or anyone else from the board at this point? Okay, while we're waiting, Greg, do we have a continuance date here?
February 28th. I've been told by Bill Grafton that they are expecting major revised plans for the conservation side of things tomorrow at noon. So that should put us in pretty good, unless Rick wants to go a little later. I don't know how much time you need for any kind of revisions to what you got, Rick.
I think the 28th works well for us. Yeah, it gives us a chance to meet with conservation next week, and yeah, that works well.
Okay, one more call. Anyone from the public or the board? All right, at this time, I'll make a motion that we continue this public hearing until February 28th, 2022 at 7:05. Is there a second?
Didn't we just continue somebody else to 7:05?
Yeah, everyone's 7:05.
Everyone's 7:05? All right.
Yeah, we stack them in case someone can't show up and we're not waiting around.
All right. Wasn't sure if you want to make it 7:10.
No,
7:05
what if they don't show
Second.
up? Wait 5 minutes doing nothing.
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Thank you, Fred.
Fred Monaco, I.
Nick.
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Kevin.
Kevin Campbell, aye.
Scott.
Scott DeCastro, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. All right, that's continued till February 28th, 2022 at 7:05, as well as the other one.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Not to run at the same time. All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, we're going to move on to Adelaide, release of lot number 10 request. Do we have Greg here for that? Oh, there's Greg.
Oh, there's
Yes.
Greg Gibbs.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically I was requesting the release of Lot 10 with the contribution made to the Sarity Fund of $23,000. Last time we did $20,000, but this is the second most difficult lot on the street after Lot 9, which you guys have already released and we have in construction. So, you know, on the positive note, we're getting the difficult ones out of the way. So we have a customer that's looking to purchase the lot.
Okay. Greg, anything to add?
Nope.
All right. Any questions from the board before I go to the public? Seeing none, is anyone here from the public on this? Okay. Seeing none. Just wait a minute. All right. Sorry, I don't mean to smile. I just expected people to talk about it.
It's a first.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any issues from the board before I make a motion? All right. I'm going to make a motion that we release lot 10 pending the $23,000 surety payment. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Fred?
Fred Monaco, I.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Campbell, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, Greg. Good night.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
And board report, staff report, Greg.
So one of the things that Karen and I have been working on is we've sent out letters to the 30 property owners on the seawall between Wrexham Road and Brook Street in the Sunrise and Fieldston Beach areas that have not submitted beach easements yet for that CZM project. Bay Ave, we were finally successful and got all the people to give us the beach easements that we needed. Duxbury, who was 30 people in the hole, within the last week got those 30 people because they found out that Bay Ave signed it and they wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity of getting beach nurses now. Well, so we're hoping that the residents in the Fieldston and Sunrise area that have not signed the beach easements get them in so we can get the entire project permitted. Without the easements, we cannot file those beaches. So right now it's Wrexham Beach, Winslow, Cobble, Dune area, renourishment, Bay Ave, and Bay Ave through Duxbury along their seawall is what is going forward for the permitting. Once they're permitted, any kind of material that meets what those various beaches have from any other location we can use on those beaches in the future. It will cost us money still, but it would be much easier versus trucking in material from the inland. There are some other things, but it's been a long meeting, so I'll pass on those. Karen, is there anything that you need to flag?
I think one quick thing, Fred, you do so many extra things in town. And I know a lot of us do extra things, but it'd be great if you put on like a salesman suit and you knocked on every one of those residence doors and handed them a letter and explained to them the importance of this. You're such a fun-loving guy. I think you'd be perfect for that. So go get him, Fred.
I still got all my work suits from retiring many years ago.
Break him out. You'd be perfect. One more job for Fred. So, okay. Nothing from Karen, right? Okay. Anything from any of the board members? Okay, great. It's been fun. All right, I'll make a motion that we.
Oh, hold on.
Wait.
We have minutes.
So I did send you today some possible comments on the ZBA.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
We had gotten an email, which I had also forwarded you from Bob Galvin. It was a 26-page memo from Bob Galvin on the ZBA agenda. And in a number of places, he said, does the planning board have any comments? So I did send you guys an email with potential comments. There are 10 different properties involved. Look it over and let me know if you want me to submit it. It's for tomorrow night's ZBA meeting.
I'll take a look at it in the morning.
And then you have the minutes from January 10th.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of 1:10:22. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Kevin?
Well, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, anything else?
That should be it.
All right, then I'll make a motion. We close tonight's meeting. Is there a second?
Sorry, I just want to clarify, Greg and Mike, that's enough. We don't need to vote anything for ZBA comments.
So we won't need to vote. If we want to send them, we can all send Greg a email tomorrow individually. Because I haven't even had a chance to read them yet to vote on anything.
Yeah.
And then I think we'll send Greg our feedback, and if he has any conflicting issues with people saying yes or no to something, he could reach out to us individually and see why or why not.
So
Okay,
Katie,
great. Are you muted?
Katie, I usually send out comments because I don't have time.
Yeah.
To get back to you. This time we just found out about it and we had enough time, so I figured I'd better at least highlight it to you. There are a number of these applications that are single-family homes, and we typically do not comment on them. But in a number of cases, they're either variances or things that they're doing on the site that are above and
precedent
beyond
setting?
what you really should be doing on a property. So it was clear by Bob Galvin's comments that he thinks that some of these are important for us to comment.
Do we want to go over them, Katie? We can.
I
go over
haven't
them
had
now
a chance to look at them closely either. I just wanted to make sure that it would work for the board to issue
So
comments.
if
that
I
way.
get comments from you guys, and I'll take, if there's unanimous or majority, I'll just go with the comments that I used. If there are people don't like that one, then I won't add that comment to the mix. So I'll do it based on the emails that I get tomorrow morning.
Well, Greg, I just sent you my comments, so you have them.
All right.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, okay, Katie.
No, I think yeah, that works. I just want to make sure that that would work and it's not like a polling the board situation. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I typically do it anyway. I just want to make sure you guys have the opportunity to look. And if you say, hey, don't comment, this is just a single family house or something, then I won't comment on it.
I love commenting. Comment away. Right? Like
Well, you didn't read his comments.
no,
so
and
it could be
I
your
have full
house.
faith in Greg's comments, so I have no worries.
Okay, so if you want to comment or not comment before Greg sends his memos out. Okay. All right, I'll make a motion. We adjourn tonight's meeting. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, aye. Katie O'Donnell.
Thank you, Fred.
Fred Monaco, aye.
Nick.
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Kevin.
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
Scott.
Scott DeCastro, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. That concludes tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
Have a good night.
night, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.